Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi. Congratulations on the film. I'm a sucker for romance, so thank you for giving us a new one. Yes.
Yay. Me
Yes.
too. I'm always
Yes.
a sucker for romance.
It's a great genre. It really is. So I want to ask first, I love how Hawaii is really showcased like so beautifully in the film for the viewer. What made the setting of Hawaii the perfect place for this story?
Well, so my husband, the director, Bryden Lando, he grew up in Maui. So he just loves Hawaii. And I had actually never been before I met him. I grew up in Vermont. And so Hawaii is kind of a far flight from there. And I remember the first time he took me, he was so great at showing me the island and, from a local perspective. And I fell in love with Hawaii. And he always told me he wanted to make a film that was a love letter to Hawaii and a love letter to growing up there and to show the world an authentic view of what it's like to be there and, not just your typical tourist experience. So when we decided we were going to make a film together and we had this idea about having a chance with the one that got away, we just immediately knew that it had to be in Hawaii.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, you did a great job showing it, the real Hawaii. So I really feel like the film had such an authentic and honest vibe to it, which has been a trend in like romance films for like several years now, like show real honest, not like a fantasy like story, you know. And why do you think it is so important for this genre to showcase relationships in such a more honest way?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think our audience has evolved. I think that people are looking for real stories and not just the fairy tale that sends you in maybe the wrong direction. And that exploring love from a real platform is what people want because that's what we're all doing. And everybody, whether or not they want to admit out loud or on social media, everybody has a one that got away. So I think everyone can really relate to Aloha Also Means Goodbye because it's at one point in life, we're all going to sit with that question of what would my life have been like if I had married that other person or if I had gone on that trip I didn't go on. And so I think that our wants that story and not just the Cinderella story anymore.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So your character Alice had a dream of becoming a full-time musician, but she was not able to make it come true, unfortunately. How do you keep pursuing your movie making dreams in this industry that can be challenging to sustain and also break into, like having a good career?
It's a great question. And it's funny because when we made this movie, we actually didn't have a child yet, and now we have a son. And so being able to balance having a family and pursue creative aspirations is the whole new animal that I'm learning how to navigate in my real life. And the character of Alice was navigating that same animal. And I think she felt very heartbroken that what she thought it was going to look like isn't what it looked like. And then, as you'll see in the film, Aloha Also Means Goodbye. I won't give it away, but she's trying to figure out what does she really want her life to look like. And I think about that every day. And I just find that as long as I have enough little slices in the pie chart of creativity and working towards the stories I want to create and put out into the world, then I feel happy and balanced. And I don't have 100% of my time to put into it anymore. But also, I think anyone that is a mom would understand that if you have, or a parent, or just someone that has a life juggling schedule, would understand that if you have one free hour, that's really 40 hours.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's why I make my 1 hour really, really work for me.
yeah. Well, that's very, very inspiring. Um, so what is the unique, challenging aspect of filming a romance film that's not present in, let's say, like an action or horror film? Like, what was the surprising challenge?
Um, I think that the surprising challenges I would say is just keeping the film moving in a way that is engaging for the audience because when you have a horror or an action genre, it can be a bit more formulaic without, okay, we put action here because that brings the energy into the next part. And then we have an action piece here, which brings the energy into the next part. So you have to do that still in a romantic film, but just in a really subtle way. So I think that can oftentimes be even more challenging. So how do I move the energy without something big happening? But it's still big, but it's just on a different level.
Mm. Yeah, the stakes are still high, but in a different way, right?
Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
all internal and
yeah.
it's and so much of what can change the direction in a film, especially a romantic film, it could be a character's look or looking at each other. And so, and from a script perspective, it's hard to write that. And sometimes it really does work wonderfully to have the director be involved in the writing process and then Bryden also was so closely involved in the editing process. He did the final cut of the film. So he and I had the story in our heads and we were able to really bring that to to the film. And so, whereas a lot of other things I've worked on as just an actor, I show up and I do my job, but I have no idea how they're going to take that. And maybe the look can end up meaning something completely that I wasn't intending, and they take it in a different direction. So,
That's
so
like the movie magic, right? It's like when they're filming, you know what they're gonna use, right? Like how it'll come out, right?
yeah, you
Yeah,
never know.
yeah, it's really cool. So I've noticed like even like since like compared to the 2010s, like romance movies are becoming a bit more niche lately, I've noticed. But what is something someone like who may not be such a fan of the genre might enjoy about this film that they could be surprised at like an element that they might really like?
Anyone that loves to travel and experience a new place. I think Aloha Also Means Goodbye is great just to discover Hawaii and discover Maui and see these beautiful, incredible places that most people may not have ever seen. So I didn't know there was a bamboo forest in Maui, and it's incredible. And I highly recommend visiting it.
Wow, that sounds really beautiful. Yeah, Hawaii looks amazing. Yeah.
It
So I love how this film discusses like feeling like you made it past your prime. Can you talk about why setting limits on yourself is damaging and what Alice learns about that during her time in Hawaii?
is. Setting limits on yourself is 1,000% damaging. I can't stress that enough. It's just we can achieve so much as individuals, as communities, and so yeah, that mindset of holding ourselves back is just silly. And I think Alice sees that she's been limiting herself with her own mindset and that she can do anything. She can leap off cliffs. And as long as it's safe below, you want to check, make sure there's no rocks,
Yeah,
but take the leap. And yeah, it's our lives are what we make them to be. I really do believe that.
yeah, I love that. And last but not least, I have to ask, I feel like this story had quite a few good life lessons, like you were just saying, like taking that leap, and other stuff. But what is the most important message you hope audiences take away from the film, if there was one?
Don't wait to experience your life. If you have a question in your mind, if there is a one that got away, if there's a place that got away, just go, just see, just find out because I think there's no regrets don't serve us. We should just see them through as best we can in life and not have questions.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think the film really showed that in a good way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. I loved your questions. They're
Oh,
very
thank you.
interesting.
That means a
All
lot.
right. Well, thank you, Nicholas, and I will send this to you in about 5 minutes. Okay.
All right, thank you so much,
All
guys.
right.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Have a great
Bye.
day.
You too. Bye.
All right. So you're